everyone, it's Laurie White from the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to episode number 73 of Chamber TV. And today we're talking about education. Education for our young students in Providence, and some resources, some really valuable resources that are available for students in order that they might achieve their most pressing and urgent dreams and be able to finish school and be in a position where they're poised to grow and go on to a multitude of opportunities in the workforce. So it's my pleasure today to welcome Dan Baudouin and Madalyn Ciampi, and they are with the Providence program called Providence Promise, and it's a nonprofit organization. You may have heard of them. They've been around for a number of years. We are very well acquainted with them at the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, and we're thrilled to be able to feature and showcase them today so that they can tell us all about the program and their milestones and their achievements and how folks can get involved if they so desire, and also what you might do to bring this program into the neighborhoods and other places where you might encounter young people who might benefit from this program. So good afternoon, everybody. Hi, Dan. Hi, Madalyn.
Hi, Laurie. It's great to see you.
Great to see you.
Hope all is well.
Absolutely. So we always start our program by asking, how are you and how's your family? So Dan, I haven't seen you in a little bit. We used to hang out together at the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce when you were head of the Providence Foundation. So I know it's been a while. So how are you doing today?
Oh, wow. I'm doing fine. My family's doing fine. Trying to make it through this crazy world, but we don't quite have the challenges that we know a lot of other people have. So, we're doing okay. Hopefully your family's doing okay.
Yes, absolutely. Keeping our fingers crossed and staying close to home. How about you, Madalyn? How are you doing?
I'm very lucky to have my health, and all of my loved ones have been safe and healthy as well.
Okay, so that's great news. We always like to start off by being mindful of that. So let's just begin right from the beginning, if you will, and let's talk a little bit about Providence Promise. Dan, let's begin with you,
Sure.
The chair of the board, and you've been involved in this effort for at least a half a dozen years, as far
as about 3 years. I got involved when I retired from the Providence Foundation. You know Richard Lappin, of course, from the Regency. And he was the one who founded Providence Promise. And when I retired, he got me involved. And I saw the potential and the need for this in the community. So I've gotten myself even more involved every month, every year that goes by here because of the power of this organization and the need. So I'm spending a lot of time as chairman, and I'm really motivated by the parents that are engaged in our program. They're really amazing. And by our staff, which is very small but very productive, as led by Madalyn. So it's somewhat still in a startup mode, but we have a lot of achievements behind us, and there's a lot of need out there that we hope to fulfill.
Well, you've been an outstanding leader for these past 3 years, and I know you're giving a lot of your time and energy and effort to it. So let's switch over to you, Madalyn, as Chief of Operations. Tell us a little bit about Providence Promise and what people can look forward to hearing more about as we progress with our little discussion here.
Sure. I'll just start by really giving Dan a big thank you for all of his hard work and dedication. He certainly has gone above and beyond just being our board chair, so he's a key member of our team as well. But Providence Promise, we're a parent-driven partnership that supports the post-secondary aspirations of Providence public school kids and their families. And we're actually the only program in Rhode Island that focuses on early planning for higher education with family engagement and college savings. And so we are working with families with kids as young as 3 months old to as old as seniors in high school. So we really have a very unique opportunity to work with children from all walks of life all throughout the city.
And what is the objective of the program?
The program has two central focuses, and those are family engagement and college savings. And we know that pairing these two things together can help build not only a financial asset for college, but can also help both families and their children to build a college-going identity and to, switch from the short-term planning that many folks are accustomed to long-term planning and future-oriented thinking, to put the future, whether that's college, trade school, whatever type of post-secondary credential a child ends up going for, to put that closer into perspective and to make something that, might be 18 years away for our youngest students, but is something that you can never start preparing too early for.
So Dan and Madalyn, give us a little bit of an example of some of the students that you've worked with that have really been imbued with this college mindset and this attitude that you're trying to inculcate.
Sure. So we have some really unique opportunities to work very closely with both our parents and our students. So while we're parent driven, we've also branched out and included our middle school and high school students in another arm of, partnership with the folks we're serving. So we have a couple of really amazing young people that have stepped up and helped us to launch our youth council, which is comprised of 7th through 12th graders. And they've helped us to develop a college access document that has a whole host of resources and workshops. And one of those youth actually now serves on our board of directors as a full voting member as well.
Dan?
I just wanted to say, when Richard Lappin, came up with this idea, and as it has evolved over the last couple of years, it's all based on some national studies and national programs, that this is a proven strategy to really help kids and students and families not only get into higher education, but really to improve the whole K through 12 experience as well. So it's all based on some good data that is shown that this kind of an approach is successful, and we collaborate with a lot of different groups, and Providence Promise kind of fills a gap that is needed, in the whole spectrum of support that hopefully can get people in this community really up to another level.
Folks may have heard of Rhode Island Promise, which
Yes.
is a scholarship program that's associated with the Community College of Rhode Island. And
Right.
they have heard of other programs that sound a little bit similar, like College Crusade, and
Sure.
there are others. So Dan, tell us a little bit about how you would differentiate the three programs.
Sure. I mean, the Rhode Island Promise program is a great program that provides tuition free for the first 2 years of college, which is great. What they don't provide is like money for books, computers, transportation, housing, all those other things that students need to be successful. 529 money, when they build up an account, that can all be used for that purpose. It can be used, obviously, for the 3rd and 4th year of college. It can be used for apprenticeships and technical school, which Rhode Island Promise doesn't cover. Every child isn't meant to go to college. Some go to a technical school and become very successful. 529s can do it. So the two programs really work well together. College Crusade, also a fabulous program, and we encourage our students to get involved in that. They have to get involved in 6th grade, and some of them are in College Crusade, but they have limitations. They can't take like thousands and thousands of kids. There is that gap there. And Madalyn, you can explain College Vision, what they do and how we kind of interrelate with College Vision.
Sure. So I think with a lot of the other college access programs, Providence Promise is really uniquely positioned to fill gaps as opposed to repeating services or duplicating services that already exist. So with groups, like the College Crusade and the Providence After School Alliance, they have incredible, after school and extracurricular programming for students. And where we come in, we work so closely with the parents and guardians of these children and provide a lot of learning opportunities and resources for the families, not just for the students. And then, of course, in addition to that, like Dan mentioned, we facilitate the college savings portion of it, which brings in a component of financial literacy for both the families and the students, because we do involve both the kids and the parents in this approach as sort of a 2-generation approach to aspiration and asset building. So In terms of the College Visions program, they help 11th grade students who are entering their senior year get ready to do their college applications and their financial aid forms. So we really try to encourage our students to participate in as many of these other activities as they can, because that will just help us. You know, Dan said we have a small staff and we do a lot with our small staff, but we can't be college advisors and after school providers and all of these other things, which is why we're so lucky to live in a city like Providence.
So theoretically, a parent and the student could come together and take advantage of each of these programs right across the continuum.
Exactly.
And starting it very early. So for some of our viewers who may be wondering, you know, hey, that sounds like an interesting idea. If you could put together a little roadmap, if you will, of all the programs that you're aware of that fit as a complementary on a complementary basis to Providence Promise, and how they, you know, how they might work together to really achieve an outstanding outcome for our young people.
Okay, who wants to try that one, Matt? You want to try it? We actually have charts that show that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we actually do. But I think that there are a lot of really great opportunities specifically for our middle and high school students, but there are not a ton of opportunities for our elementary aged and pre-K students. And so that's something that Providence Promise has been working really hard at, you know, especially with the parent engagement, but also trying to come up with creative ways to get very young children involved in this process, since obviously a lot of people aren't thinking about college when their child's in first grade, but that's something that we're sort of, you know, putting a blanket down on. And so for the elementary school, I think we fit nicely to fill a gap there. And then for middle school, like we said, we've got the Crusade, we've got Providence After School Alliance, Breakthrough Providence. In high school, there's Providence Student Union, College Visions, and like 1,000 other ones. So we do also incentivize our students to participate in those types of opportunities, since we know that those are beneficial for their, you know, academic and social outcomes. So with our savings portion of the program, students can actually earn money from Providence Promise to their savings accounts by participating in College Visions or playing on the soccer team or any other host of things that we know will help them be successful.
So how do they earn money by participating in those other complementary programs? How does that work?
So we actually launched what we call our incentive program about exactly 1 year ago. And what that means is that our parents and students of all ages have different opportunities to earn money from Providence Promise to supplement their accounts. And so each of our students, their families are making a monthly contribution into those accounts. And then we're able to leverage the parents' dollars with funds earned through the incentive program. So for example, parents in the program can earn $10 by attending a parent council meeting or participating in one of our monthly workshops. And students, elementary through high school, can earn different amounts of funding, you know, anywhere from $5 to $50 by sending us, you know, a copy of their report card that they did well on, or their attendance record, or by showing us that they've enrolled in a program like the College Crusade, or that they've joined a sports team. And then we're able to send those funds directly into the students' accounts to help build an early scholarship there for them.
And you might want to mention that we really piggyback on the General Treasurer's College Bound program. That's the 529 savings program that we reach out to the urban population of Providence, many of whom have never heard about this program and haven't had the opportunity to participate. And the General Treasurer has recognized that. He actually helps us reach out to that more difficult population where there may be language barriers and other barriers if people participate. And that's where we have really shown how our connection with the community have really produced some good results. We give people $100 incentive fee to sign up for College Bound. And then as Madalyn mentioned, they have the incentive program where they can add to it. And then they have to, you know, they have skin in the game. They have to contribute 1% of their income into it. So the hope is this builds up a financial asset for some families who don't have a financial asset. And it's proven nationwide that if you have an asset that really isn't like thousands and thousands of dollars, even if it's $500, that your child is 3 times more likely to graduate from high school, 4 times more likely to graduate from college. Because why? Because the college culture, the mindset comes into the family. We're saving for the future. You know, we can do this. You know, we got challenges, but we can do this. So we're really happy that we can piggyback on the general treasurer's program and the fact that he supports us to reach out to that more challenging population.
Well, it sounds like there are various streams of dollars that come into funding the program, and I love the idea of really cementing the engagement piece, and the engagement piece, of course, is reinforced by the additional contribution into the fund. But take a minute and describe, if you will, the various income streams and how it gets deposited into an account, and then how is it withdrawn, and under what circumstances does the money get forfeited?
Okay. Madalyn, you want to?
Yeah, I can take that.
Oh, yeah.
So each of our families individually owns their own 529 College Bound Saver account for each of their children enrolled in the program. So each family has their own private individual asset for their child. And Providence Promise is an interested party on those accounts, which means that we're able to receive quarterly statements for all of our students' accounts. So we're able to see that families are making regular contributions into the account. And then we're also able to use those as a tool for some of our financial literacy with families, to go over, the interest that's accrued and the earnings, and to see how that's very exciting for a lot of us that, haven't seen that type of thing outside of a savings account, where I might get 4 cents a month or something like that. And so Providence Promise, with the incentive program, we do actually send the incentives earned by the families and the students directly into their 529 College Bound Saver accounts, which is their asset. And the only restrictions for withdrawal of their funds is that they're used for an academic expense. So like Dan mentioned, that could be anything from tuition to a laptop to anything else the student requires for the cost of attendance, not just the cost of tuition. However, if a family does
if I could just ask, that's post-secondary? Is that correct?
There's actually some new legislation that does allow for funding in those accounts to be used for private K-12 as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that same legislation opened up the 529 to apprenticeships.
Okay. Yeah.
Either for apprenticeship.
Yeah, but if at any time the family needs to or wants to withdraw their funds, the account is theirs, the asset is theirs, and they can withdraw their funds at any time. There's a small federal fee associated with the 529s for a non-qualified distribution, which is just 10% of the earnings. So it's a very, very minimal fee that families are looking at.
What is the recommended contribution that a family member should make on a regular basis to a student's 529 account?
So 90% of our families are from low-income households, and Providence Promise, in order to make the savings journey something that's affordable for everyone and is inclusive, we do base our recommended monthly contributions for their children on their income. So we have families that are contributing $5 a month, and we have families that are contributing $100 a month. But our average family is saving about $15 per month, and that's for each child they have in the program. So we do have families that have 2, 3, 4 children in the program, but most folks are contributing about $15. But then, as I mentioned, they're supplementing that with funds they earn through the incentive program. And just since January, families and students have earned $17,000 through the incentive program. So although their own personal contributions might not seem terribly substantial, they're able to really take advantage of this other opportunity for supplementing those funds.
And we were so happy to report, as the end of June, the families had saved collectively in excess of $300,000 in their college savings account. So it's building up that asset, which is really empowering for people to be able to have that.
And the power of compounding is something that
That's right. And I think we figured out that 98% of our enrollees have never heard of a 529 account. So the vast majority, this is something that's new to them, but they've taken the time to understand it and really embrace it and the power of it, and to get engaged. And you're right, Laurie, with family engagement. Maybe Madalyn, you can talk a little bit more about that. That's a very critical part of the program.
Yeah. Yeah. So we love our family engagement program. It's one of my absolute favorite things to work on. Starting in February of last year, we decided that we wanted to do something more robust with our family engagement. So we launched a parent council. And we started that parent council with 5 parents, and now we're up to about 35 parents. And we've seen a lot of that growth actually happen over the last 5 or 6 months. During all of, the crazy things that are going on, and during all of this difficulty, we've actually seen participation in the parent council increase by a couple of families per month. And so the parent council has really become just an essential part of our programming, of decision making, of everything we do. So in partnership with the parent council, Providence Promise has also launched its youth council, which I mentioned. We did that in November of last year. And we've just been able to really nail down different topics that are important for parents, that are important for students. And we've been able to bring in, outside partners where necessary to facilitate conversations or workshops. And there's also a lot of things, that we're able to provide hands-on to our families. So in the past, we've met about once per month with both the Parent and Youth Council, typically alternating between a workshop on a topic suggested by the Parent Council and meetings. And since April, we've actually moved to more like weekly family engagement at the recommendation of our participants. So we've been doing, we're getting really good at using Zoom, which I think everyone is in the process of doing. But we've hosted a lot of workshops, both relevant to the pandemic. So we had one of our partners from Rhode Island Legal Services came in to do a virtual workshop about unemployment benefits during COVID and about education rights. And so we've had things like that. We've had financial literacy, first jobs and paychecks for our students, virtual Zumba. We've pretty much had it all. And for us, it's been very exciting and has given us a lot of extra opportunities to find more partnerships in the communities, to be able to bring folks who are experts in things that our parents and students are asking for, to be able to bring those resources directly to them.
Dan, do you want to build on that?
Well,
Sure.
another activity that parents have been involved with is the whole transition of the school system with the Rhode Island Department of Education and the new superintendent. The parents have been involved through the whole hearing process last year, and now they continue to be involved as the implementation plans are developed. So having the parents involved in that, we know is a critical success factor both for Rhode and the district, and we think this really adds to that with the amount of parents that we have. And I don't know if we mentioned this, but we almost have 400 children enrolled now from almost 200 families, right? Something like that. And it's really demand driven. We find that once we get out into the community, it's just more difficult in the days where you can't go to meetings and schools, but we've still been able to get out virtually into the community and continue to sign families up as we go through this. So we find the demand is out there, that people really want to kind of think about the future, plan for the future, and work with their kids for the future, despite all the immediate challenges that they have. I mean, to me, this is such a good news story that people are really working towards the future and trying to get the education that they really deserve, and that our education system in Providence in particular has failed them. We're excited about the turnaround plans. We want to get involved in that. We are involved in that, and we look forward to the future.
How are your parents, your families dealing with the new normal, if you will, in the COVID environment where there's no in-person school?
Mm-hmm.
That no doubt is a challenge to most families. So tell us a little bit about some of the thoughts around how your particular population is achieving despite all this.
Sure.
Yeah. So, we've been in touch pretty much daily with our families since mid-March. And so we've had a lot of insight into the types of things that families are struggling with and things that families are doing really well during this time. We know a lot of our families have suffered extreme financial hardship during this time, losing jobs or, being laid off. But we've also noticed that a lot of our families have gotten very creative with what reality is right now. And with, having their kids at home, we've seen our families reaching out to us for ideas and for resources. And it's something that we've seen regularly prioritized is spending time with their children as they have them home, and trying to do so in a way that's productive too. And so we were able to develop a summer incentive program. Sorry, that was sort of like a summer camp where there were activities for children every day of the week for 11 weeks of summer. And that came really at the request of parents, knowing that summer camps were shut down. And we heard a lot from parents being really worried about distance learning and being really worried about the type of learning their students were actually doing. And, being afraid that their kids were going to be losing a lot of learning during that time. So we worked together with the parents to come up with fun and creative ways to bring education in a different form that's not a computer screen. So we've delivered almost 500 books to our students since April. And we've incentivized, doing book reports or drawing pictures or doing some kind of representation about their learning. And then with the summer incentive program, there was really just a huge variety for ages 0 through 18 to get creative, to get outdoors, to go exploring in their neighborhoods, to, cook a recipe with their parents. So that was something that, we heard from our parents was a priority for them, and we were able to work together to find some solutions to that.
And each of those activities hopefully earn some additional incentive dollars along the way.
They do. Yes, they do. Yeah. And we also were able to partner with the Providence Public Library over the summer to bring the Passport to Summer Learning kits to about 60 of our students. And then that was an additional incentive. And it was also great because, they faced this issue for this summer where parents had to come to pick up packages, and the packages were phenomenal, books and activities and craft supplies and all sorts of great things for hands-on learning, but they didn't have the capacity to get the resources to the families. And we said, well, we've got families that are looking for resources, so we'll be the middleman. And so we were able to get 60 of our kids also involved in that summer learning opportunity, which was really exciting for us.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So I think I may have interrupted you when you were describing the various income streams. So there's the $529 that the parents contribute. There's your incentive funds. So are there other pieces that are built into this equation?
Not for the college savings account. So there's parent money, and then there's earned money from Providence Promise. But all the other funding for our program goes for direct services like our workshops and other resources that we're able to deliver directly to families and students.
So are you in the fundraising mode? And if so, how can people learn more about what you're doing and how they might support it if they were so inclined?
Sure. Like most nonprofits, we are in the fundraising mode. We don't have millions and millions of dollars that we have to raise. Last year, we were able to run a very effective program based on a budget of about $212,000. This year, we're trying to not double, but increase the program substantially. So our budget is going up to about $350,000, we hope. We have about 150 supporters. It's growing. People can support us. I guess the best way, Madalyn, is, hey, give me a call. Or you can go to our website, DVD Promise, right?
Yeah, dvdpromise.org.
And make a contribution. We knock on a lot of doors. As I mentioned earlier, we've been in business a couple of years, but we're still somewhat of a startup. People want to show results, which we can show now. So we're starting to increase, the amount of doors that open up to us, and we still have to do a lot of work there. But with a modest amount of money, we can produce some great results. And I think the more this scales up, then the better the education experience is for everyone in the school system, because parents and kids will demand better. They'll get engaged, which I think was what everybody wants. There'll be more of that. And we talk about the income streams. The big one need is when someone goes on to higher education. And we have all these partnerships, or at least cooperative, I wouldn't call them agreements, but just as we mentioned earlier, we encourage and tell our students how to get involved with all the college access programs, College Vision, College Crusade. But in addition to that, we have lists of scholarships, and we're going to tell our graduates, the oldest one is just entering 12th grade, how you really position yourself well for scholarships, for grants, for work study help. So that's another piece of this. Ultimately, we hope we can raise money to fill a financial gap when students are ready to go on to higher education, similar to what Rhode Island Promise does. A lot of other communities have really some substantial money. New Haven is one example that has substantial money when a child graduates from the public school system in New Haven and they go on to college. This is mostly funded by Yale, that they recognize the importance of a well-educated students coming out of the public school system. So, there's still a lot of hopes, aspirations that our parents have, and our staff has, our board has. So, yeah, we're in a fundraising mode, sure.
And in addition to money, we're always looking for creative thought partners and other folks that would be interested in, providing a resource to our family, facilitating a workshop, facilitating a discussion. We're looking into establishing a mentor program for some of our kids to start having those positive role models. So, we're always on the hunt for those types of opportunities as well.
So give us an example of some of the workshop leaders or types of topics that you're interested in finding, really good people to lead and present.
Mm-hmm. I think technology is always a big one. We've recently partnered with the Highlander Institute, who are going to facilitate some workshops for our families with that. But there's definitely, one of our biggest barriers has been the digital divide that we see in our community, with folks just not being experienced with using technology. Particularly, things that we as an organization have sort of taken advantage of, like Gmail and Google Drive and things like that. So that's certainly a big one. And then for our families specifically too, they're always looking for additional folks with education perspectives. So that has ranged from district officials to teachers to an education lawyer. But that's something families always have a lot of questions about. Particularly if folks have expertise with differently abled students or multi-language learners. That's certainly an area we're looking at. And then, of course, financial literacy. We do have a couple of great folks in the community helping us facilitate financial literacy with our parents and our students, but the demand is high for both groups.
So what is your background, Madalyn? You sound very comfortable with the subject matter. You sound like an educator, professional educator yourself.
So I was kind of a classroom teacher during the summer for a couple of years, but my master's degree is in urban education policy. And while I was in grad school, I actually had the opportunity to work with the College Promise campaign, which is sort of the national umbrella organization for programs like Providence Promise. And like Dan mentioned, the New Haven Promise and others. And my specialty was actually doing research on Promise programs that integrated the use of 529 accounts. So when I met Richard Lappin and heard about his vision for the program, I was very eager to get involved. So I worked for Providence Promise as an intern before we officially launched. And here I am 3.5 years later, loving every day.
Are you originally from Rhode Island or from Providence, or?
I'm from Massachusetts, but I moved to Providence 8 years ago and do not intend on leaving anytime soon.
Like, right, Dan? We'd love to hear that.
Yes, and Madalyn's undergraduate is from Providence College. So she's got Providence College and Brown University. Did you mention that your master's from Brown? So you got the colleges covered in Rhode Island. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's always so exciting and rewarding to hear the stories of people and their own careers and what has allowed them to, really feel a passion for a subject matter. So I certainly see it from you, Madalyn, and I know, Dan, you have it very strongly as well. And we've been talking about this program for a number of years. So it's really exciting to see how far it's come and the milestones and the various achievements and the psychology also of helping to change lives, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 families at a time, times 10. So that, that's really wonderful to see. I'm sure you have a lot of really wonderful stories about success, or how you've changed minds or changed hearts or changed trajectories with some of your families. Can you share maybe one or two of the stories that you've witnessed and help us to get a sense of the difference that you really are making in the community?
I think one of my favorite stories is the first college tour we did. So we are trying to take, obviously the world has changed right now, but we do try to take our families and students on college tours of the local colleges and universities a couple times a year. So this was probably about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. We went on our first college tour to Brown University. And it was the first time that any of the students or the parents that attended with us had ever stepped foot on the campus. So that was something, that really stuck out to all of us. Like that makes you think, what does higher education in the city of Providence, where's the disconnect between the institutions and the community? And so something that we were excited about was being able to say, this is your city, there's institutions in your city, and we're going to go walk around and take a look at all the opportunity that's right in your backyard. And so while we were walking around campus, visiting all the different buildings and the quads and pointing out all these different exciting places around campus, we had one of our students who was in 3rd grade at the time who had a complete career shift in her mind when she saw the new engineering building at Brown University. And she asked us, could I take classes in there and be an engineer? And we were like, yeah. And, you're right down the street from your mom and dad. And so just to be able to see the switch sort of flip there of, oh, this isn't some, far off mystical land. This is, a world-class university in my backyard, and I can do this too.
In the 3rd grade.
Yeah, and now she's in the 5th grade, doing very well in school. She's hungry for books, always, with our care package program, we've delivered a lot of books to her and her sisters. So it's just, that's what we're looking for, is to be able to inspire kids from a young age, and, put something in there that you can do this and you will do this. And here's the community that believes in you. And so let's work together to make it happen.
Yeah, so it's so interesting that sometimes in life, it only takes one short snippet of conversation or a few words by an inspirational person to change a life forever. And they have done just that. Dan, I'm sure you have a favorite story to share.
Well, I think what I'm impressed with, maybe you touched on this, Madalyn, when we started this incentive program for children to read books and to give book reports, I think there was one family that may have had a couple of children like just buy into that, and they just kept reading and making book reports, and they made a ton of money. And that's great. That was just fabulous to see that kind of motivation and just effort to kind of just better yourself. Just very nice. And then we have families parent on the board of directors, Darrell, and she's just fabulous. And Darrell and her family did a recent interview with Providence Business News. And they became a little bit of a local star during that. They had their photo taken on the new pedestrian bridge, and she's got 2 kids in the program, and they just so happy that Providence Promise is there to help them along the way.
Oh, I love those stories, and that's what brings it all to life and drives the message home, and certainly creates a bit of an emotional tie and helps us all really understand what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So we have a few more minutes left together. So I want to throw it back at both of you. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think is important that you want to bring forth at this time? Dan?
Well, I just want to, and we may have touched on this, but how Providence Promise kind of fits in with the whole continuum of developing a very well-educated community and a very well-educated labor force. For example, if there's so many good labor training programs. I know, Laurie, you've been very involved with Skills for Rhode Island. What we would do is to produce a student that is really ready for that additional training and education and can embrace that. So it's really just part of the answer here to improve education, the skills, and ultimately the community development of Providence.
Yeah, that's a great program. We did feature them back in the spring when they were starting to do some work on their high school summer internship program. So I can see where Providence Promise and Skills for Rhode Island's Future, that would be another
Right.
articulation point, if you will. So as the students progress through the grades and they get to the point where they're a rising senior, there may be summer opportunities for internships, paid internships, and getting to young people while they're still in high school, while they're thinking about career path and whatnot. So it would be, not every student gets as excited as your example was, in the third grade when she saw the engineering school at Brown, but it may take a little bit longer for folks to have an idea that really gels.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Lori, about the high school internship program. We actually did have one of our Providence Promise students participate in that program this summer, and he actually did find himself, he primarily had been looking into engineering programs for post-secondary education, but after his internship, he's now more interested in business and marketing ideas as well. So that was great for him to be able to be introduced to another side of, the potential for his career path.
Yeah, internships are so important, and it's, I think it's incumbent on all of us that may have been interns somewhere along in our life to just remember what a chance it gave us a long time ago and got us started on the right path. So the idea of being able to, lend a hand and providing that same kind of support and inspiration to others that are following in our footsteps is a great thing.
Absolutely.
We've had two great summer interns this summer from Skills, right, Madalyn?
Yeah, from the college intern program, we had two fabulous young people actually work with our youth to develop that college access program that I mentioned that we should be implementing sometime this fall. And we've actually kept one of the interns on with us in a part-time capacity. She's also interested in education policy, so she found a good niche with us here.
Great. So as we conclude, tell us what you folks are up to in the fall. You gave us a little bit of a foreshadowing on that, but anything else that we can watch you accomplish in the coming weeks?
Yeah, so we're continuing to, push and develop the incentive program amongst our families, and we are keeping a very full calendar to the best of our abilities with engagement opportunities for families and students. So over the next few weeks, we have some opportunities for families to learn about supporting their students during distance learning, and that's in partnership with the Highlander Institute. We have some college representatives coming to do a virtual meeting with some of our families and students. And as I mentioned, we will be working one-on-one with our high school seniors with the college access program to make sure that come May and June that they're ready to make their transition out of high school and into college.
And as I mentioned earlier, we have 400 students almost enrolled now. The goal, if the demand is out there, and we think it is, as we publicize the program even more, is to get that up to about 650 by the end of June 2021. And then grow it from there if the demand is there, which we think it is.
So you're interacting directly with Providence Public School Department and their external relations individuals, folks, to make them sort of really understand the elements of the program and getting them, working in close collaboration with you.
Yep, certainly.
As well as other partnerships with community organizations to try to get the word out. For example, we have a partnership with Mount Hope up in that neighborhood that was partially funded by Miriam Hospital Foundation, to reach out, to get our word out to more parents and their children.
Okay. Well, it's been wonderful speaking with you, Madalyn, and with you, Dan. And any closing comments before we say goodbye?
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity. It's great to see you. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Stay safe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Madalyn.
And I always like to encourage folks, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're always posting great stuff about our families and our students. And that's the best way to find out what we're up to each week.
Okay, so it's provpromise.org, and you have all your social media platforms outlined and stratified there. So follow them, see what they're doing, make sure you understand and get engaged and get excited like we all are for what they're doing. You're doing yeoman's work, and we really appreciate it. And I hope you're able to share this interview as well with all of the friends of Providence Promise. So thanks again. Have a good summer, the rest of the summer, and we look forward to having you back very, very soon to tell us about how the fall semester is going and other ways that the business community might be able to get engaged with your work. So have a wonderful day and see you later soon.
You too. Thank you,
Thank
Laurie.
you, Laurie. Hey, guys. Thank you.